What's going on, guys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to episode 7 of FIFA School. In today's video, we'll be talking about does chemistry matter and how chemistry styles affect the players, what chemistry you know to use, and some other basic information. I'll have a link in the description which gives more information about the basics of chemistry. It'll be too long to talk about very much the basics, but click on the link below in the description. It should take you to this link, which is a FIFA.uttheme.com, and it gives you all the information about chemistry. How does it affect the players? What does it affect? But I'll be talking about something that's not on this document, and a lot of FIFA players, to be honest, completely differ from my opinion. So do bear with me. This video, the truth is, it's probably going to differ to most other FIFA YouTubers and streamers. So if you have any comments or any questions, write down in the comment section down below. But just be prepared, and what I'm going to say is probably contradicting what most of the community would say. So the big thing is, does chemistry matter? In my opinion, no, to some extent. Now, you see me play with less chemistry. Now, technically speaking, chemistry only, team chemistry, which I'm referring to in particular here, only affects player boost. So say, for example, as you can see, Zachariah's on 100 chemistry. He's got, as you can see, full player chemistry and full team chemistry. So he gets the full boost on his stats. So he gets plus 15 sprint speed, plus 15 acceleration, and plus 10 sprint speed for a shadow chemistry. If we look at Goretzka, the team chemistry is still 100, but he only has 8 chemistry, so he only gets plus 11 and plus 7, so he doesn't get the full boost. So in comparison to Zachariah, for example, he had plus 15 and plus 10 because he had full player chemistry and full team chemistry, and now Goretzka doesn't have the full boost because of course he doesn't have the full player chemistry. So understand this, assuming that 100 chemistry is always existing, it depends on the player chemistry for the boost. So that's what the point I always try to make is, people always ask, why do I play, for example, a left back in a centre back position? Well, my logic is, if there is a left back with all 99 stats, right, and you put him in a centre back role, would he be a bad player? No, he wouldn't. If you put, for example, like you've seen pro players play Team of the Year Ramos on the right hand side as a right back. The reason why is not because he's a fantastic right back, it's because there's no other player better in that position to A, defend alternator crosses and crosses and headers in general, and B, his card is very good in the first place. So that's what people use players, that's why I use players out of position. It's the same reason why I use, many of you guys see me on, and one of the most common things you probably see me do is you see me play players out of position. Now, however, this is my second team, I still play players out of position. So if, for example, I don't have an example offhand right now, but if, for example, we were to scroll through my team, sometimes you might see me, for example, play that tradition, not, for example, a CDM. I might play me CDM. So say, for example, someone like Marquinhos, for example. Yes, he's a CDM. He's got defensive stats, right? But he can still play in CDM. You know, he's got medium, which aren't the most ideal work rates. However, we can look over here. You can see he's got decent short passing and decent sprint speed acceleration. He can still play in a CDM role. There might be, for example, the only person that might be better than him might be another player that costs 500k. Now this guy's a cheap alternative. He can get the job done. That's kind of my logic behind playing players up. The same thing with, for example, left wing and right wings. If, for example, you have 2 good left wingers on your team, try putting one of the left wingers on the right wing, and maybe, let's say, for example, he only has 6 or 7 chem, but he will still be better on 7 chem than someone else, for example, who's got even worse stats in the correct position. That's kind of my logic and my take on chemistry, and that's how, in my opinion, it should be. Fortunately, not everyone follows this kind of logic. The key thing you need to remember is, as long as a player has above, so assuming the team chemistry is at 100, assuming that you want the player's chemistry to be above 4. When the chemistry goes below 4, that's when the player starts losing stats. That's when he starts getting, for example, instead of that being neutral, he might get negative, I don't know, let's say -2, and that would be 85 acceleration. So don't go below 4 chemistry. Of course, if team chemistry, I think above 85 is fine. What you do need to bear in mind is, for example, if you have 85 chemistry and the player has 10 chemistry, he might not get plus 10, he might get plus 9. You need to figure that out yourself, and how you can do that is actually another link in the description. It will take you to futbin. and you can check, for example, on this link, how much chemistry a player gets. So you can go to the squad builder, create the team, and you can apply different chemistry styles. So for example, I can put a shadow on Goretzka, and you can see his stats and see how his boosts are like. Another question is, how do you know what players get the boost and what boost to put on what players essentially? Now, in terms of chemistry styles, there's many chemistry styles. Some are very more expensive than others. Because I prioritize pace over everything, shadow always comes first for all my centre backs, all my defensive players, and then my attacking players, it just depends. So for example, Ben Yedder, I put a hunter on him for the sole reason is he's got very good attacking stats, maybe not the best shooting stats. His long shots, even though he's got 80 overall, but inside we can see 85 finishing, but he does need a boost to the pace. I like fast play, so I put a hunter on him, if that makes sense. In comparison, we compare this to Promes. I didn't put a hunter on Promes because he already has 90 pace. You see, for example, Ben Yedder, he didn't have 90 pace, he had 85, which is quite slow. Because Promes had 90 pace, I didn't feel the need to put a hunter on him. So what I did instead is I improved his finishing. So I put a sniper on him to get 99 finishing and plus 10 shot power, and I tried to improve his composure here with sniper. So that's the reason why certain players determine certain chemistry styles. For example, Muriel here, we can see he's got a decent pace. His finishing is not amazing, so I put a sniper on him. But the main reason I put a sniper on him is because his dribbling stats and his composure were very bad. So it just kind of depends on the player. Here, for example, we have Mbabu. The reason why I put a different chemistry style, so I think I put, a Sentinel, I think I put on him. So he's already got the pace, so I don't feel the need to put a shadow on him because there's no point. He'll get plus 10 acceleration and plus 50, plus 50 acceleration, plus 10 sprint speed. Is worthless. But as you can see, he's got good sprint speed and acceleration, he's got a good pace. But his defensive stats, ignoring this for a second, if you ignore these boosts for a second, his defensive stats are not really that good. However, when I put a Sentinel on him, he starts getting almost in the 90s, if you think about it, in terms of his stats. See? He has plus 15, stand tackle plus 15, and he also gets the physical boost as well. When in comparison to Shadow, for example, Shadow only doesn't increase physical, it only increases defensive and pace. And as you can see, his stand tackle only increases it plus 5. That's why, for example, for Mbabu, Sentinel is better. Now, the ballpark of where you think a stat should be, that's completely entirely up to you, to be completely honest. It just depends on personal preference. But you can go to this site, futbin, the link's in the description, and you can search a player. So we have Zakaria. Now, if you go scroll down to the bottom, you can set your team chemistry and your player chemistry. So let's say, for example's sake, we have Zakaria and we have him in the team and we're deciding what chemistry to use on him. Now, by default, every player gets basic. Now, basic kind of is actually a really good chemistry style, actually very underrated. It kind of gives you, I think, a boost in some of the most important stats, so like sprint speed, positioning, vision, short pass, long pass, strength, jumping, stand tackling. It gives you kind of an all-round basic. I think it's actually a very good chemistry style. But let's say, for example, his acceleration is quite low and you want to increase that. You might think, I want to use a shadow, and you can kind of, compare. You can use an anchor, and you can basically compare and see how the chemistry style affects. So let's say, for example, we know, for example, as I said, his acceleration is slow. We can put an anchor on him, but he still might be a bit slow. So let's say we want to put a shadow on him. Here he gets the pace that we want, and he gets the good defensive stats. We can make do with the physical. His jumping, he should be fine because he's 6'3", and that's how you do it. You can also change the player chemistry as well. So if he's on 7 chem, you can see how his boost would be different. If, for example, he has let's say 92 chem, as you can see with 92 chem, he does get a little bit less. So instead of plus 15 acceleration, he only gets plus 14. So you can test this for yourself using the sliders and see it for yourself. The key thing is, I would say, is never let a player chemistry go below 4, and never let the team chemistry go below 80. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. No one really has below 80 chem, but I still won games on teams with 30 and 40 chem. As long as the player chemistries are fine, the team chemistry shouldn't matter too much. I play teams where, if you see my stream, some of my teams, half the players have 5 and 6 chem only. So that's kind of the logic. It's the same thing with subs. When you buy a sub, you can sometimes have your best player. So for example, Ronaldo is a good example. You can actually put Cristiano Ronaldo on your sub bench, right? Because subs normally have 5 chemistry. So if the player doesn't start, he has 5 chemistry. So if you put, for example, a hunter on him, let's say a hunter, as you can see, his stats do go quite up a little bit on 5 chemistry. It only goes up a small amount, but because the base card is so good, he doesn't need the boost. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to start him. So this is actually very good. So let's say, for example, in this case, here's an example. Now, on my subs, ignoring these for a second, I have players like Martinez. Now, Martinez is not the best of players, but if you look at his stats, what's very important is he's only on 5 chemistry. So I put a sniper on him. If I sub him on, he gets good pace, good finishing, gets 88 acceleration. Finishing, sorry, and gets a decent dribbling boost. But he's still better than my striker. So Muriel, in my eyes, Martinez is way better than Muriel. But for example, Martinez is someone who's from the MLS, so he actually won't give my players chemistry, and more importantly, he would affect players like Dembele and reduce their chem. So there's no point starting him. So sometimes it's better to play, for example, a player. So for example, on my team, you might see me using a Kata as a centre mid just for chemistry, and then you sub a player on, for example, like Martinez, who's a very good player on 5 chem. When the game starts, I just sub him on. So players like Ronaldo, they're very good at that because they're such good players normally, and they have such good stats normally, that there's no need to actually have them on full chemistry. Of course, it's ideal. So for example, Ronaldo, the main thing is his balance. So of course, you know, so people put an engine on him. So when you play him, he gets the full boost. But because he's quite a good player normally, you might not need that. So if, for example, you have a better player from a different league on the bench, do that. So you might, for example, put a cheap player just for chemistry purposes, like I did with Muriel, and then sub a player like Ronaldo on the pitch. I've been doing this for years. I've been creating BPL teams in FIFA 18, and I used to sub Messi on as soon as the game started from minute 1, and that's why you see people subbing players on. Anyway, that's how chemistry is in general. As I said, if you want to look at the chemistry, this is where the information is in regards to chemistry. What links are hyperlinks, how does chemistry affect the card, etc, etc. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, you have the basics, for example, like, you know, how managers attribute to, you know, chemistry. So obviously, you know, managers attribute to chemistry, but that is all in a link that I sent you below. So very short and simple. Does chemistry matter? Not really. It doesn't. Only if you want to affect the boost of a player. The logic is, if you have, for example, and then this is the final note I'll add on, right? If you have a player, let's say, for example, like, I'll give you an example. So I play Team of the Year, Marcelo, on my main team, and I play him in striker, CDM, and left back. Now, his card is very good naturally. Now, if I sub him on 5 chem, right? On 5 chem, I think I have a sniper on him, I think, just to improve his finishing. Now, if I sub him on 5 chem, this card is going to be better than legit 99.9% of the cards in the game. If I sub this guy on, he's better than 99. So that's the reason why I like to have players off chem or sub players on. This is logic. The logic is, if the player is already good and his stats are already good naturally, he doesn't need the full chemistry boost. I mean, let's say I put, for example, I don't know. Let's say I'll give an example. Let's say I put, for example, a catalyst. Not a catalyst. Let's just say, I'm trying to think of a good, let's say Maestro, for example. So here, I put a Maestro on him. Even with a Maestro, right, with 10 chemistry, as you can see, the stats, apart from free kick accuracy, he already has a very good short passing, so he only gets +5 and +4, as you can see, and even on agility, +5 only. Reaction ball control only gets +2, dribbling he only gets +4. The reason why it's such a low boost is because he's already close to 99 anyway. So the logic is, does this guy really need full chemistry? No, you'd rather have a player that's in your team, for example, on less chemistry. So let's say, for example, I was to sub him on. I'd rather have someone, for example, like Muriel on full chemistry, who, for example, needs it to get the acceleration boost and to get the sprint speed and the defensive stats boost, rather than Marcelo in that instance, and sub Marcelo. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. That's kind of my take on chemistry in general. As I said, in short and sweet, does it matter? Not really, not particularly. At the end of the day, what's most important is the player itself, and the person controlling the gamepad, which is you in that case. And finally, I just want to say, make sure a player doesn't go below full chemistry. Full chemistry is kind of the sweet spot where anything below that, the player loses stats, and in general, not just boost, the actual stats itself, so stats become negative. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. We're going to be talking about gameplay next in the next one. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.